Thanks for stopping by. Tuning in. Life lessons in the pain. Have I been sabotaging my prosperity all this time? So if you can just see over yonder, got some old paint out of the boat. Been sitting in the bilge for a long time, or whatever you want to call that spot where you put your... Well, it's in the old wet well, is what it is. It's been sitting in the old wet well. And it's like, man, I've got to use this. So I've got basically all the old bits where the paint has been separated, right? All the white thereabouts. Some pretty toxic stuff in here. And I've used turps and linseed oil just to basically create some substantial body of the paint. And then these little bits of wood here, just to make a little step up there to the deck. And so what I've done is I've created just some notes, and this is why I'm looking at my other phone. So, to be honest, I can keep some traction in your attention. So that your life lesson in the paint. And that is the realization, you know, have I been sabotaging my own prosperity? Because there's a high chance that a lot of people, anyone who's watching this, or isn't watching this, are doing this exact same thing and not even realizing it. So what would you call a bit of an epiphany, or just a really, what? And that's why I'm making this video, and that's why I want to share it with you, and that's why I've got notes. So I've given you a bit of a prelude, right? And what triggered that is as I'm painting this with this old paint, it made me think, why have I just been hanging on to these old cans, half full cans of paint that I have a fair inclination that they're past their due date. And here's something very honest, is that I was wanting to maximize their value. So I've been waiting for like that special moment, that rainy day, right? When really, look, it's just old paint. Let's just use it as we can use it. And in that, I'm actually maximizing its value. So there's a little step here, little bits of scrap wood, of using up the scrap wood. Now I've got a little step up onto the deck, okay? And where I had to cut out the old rotten timber here, and I've just got pallet wood going across there, and I've painted that as well. So now I have a little step, because you may not realise that's quite a drop. So just having that little step there makes it a little safe. Okay. And that's what it was. That the incentive was, the rains are coming again. I've got this old paint. Let's just freaking start doing something. And as I said, that in doing that, I think that's what created that realization, or triggered in an awareness. And that could be like the metaphor, the truth of it all. Like I said, you know, why was I protecting this paint? And I've done this, and I've been doing this as well, protecting my resources. I could use them there, but maybe I should wait and get more wood, then I can use that wood, instead of just using like what I've got and realizing, does it fit the application? Will it do for the now? Yes or no? And let's get on with it. So let me say this, that I was protecting half a can of old paint, well actually cans of old paint, like it was some scarce irreplaceable asset. And it's the same with wood. Now I understand if I'm an opportunist, and I know there's other fellas that are opportunists, or even ladies out there that are opportunists. And if you see a resource like, man, that looks like a valuable resource, I'm going to hang on to that. But then it needs to go beyond hanging on to it. And am I collecting for a purpose? Is there a true reason behind it? So when it comes to the boat, wood and paint, they're key resources. But I need to be more mindful in the collection of the resource and collecting it knowing that it's going to be used, and then I can have this flow. And that's going to come up in a moment. But let's just go back to me hanging on to these things like they're scarce. I better not use that there. What if I need to use it there? Just sort of lean into that for a moment, because think about that. By hoarding it or approaching it from that perspective, I've been subconsciously telling myself that resources are limited, and that if I used it, I wouldn't be able to get more when the next project came along. But that's really, it's complete nonsense. Because there's heaps of paint, there's heaps of wood, there's heaps of screws, there's heaps of bolts, right? There's always someone's clearing out someone's shed. And it just makes you realize that there's no need for any. I'm going off on a little side tangent here, but really there's no need to be putting myself in any form of suffering, because there's always going to be resources, and whether those resources aid towards your well-being, like well-being on all facets, right? Your mental well-being, or psychological well-being, your emotional well-being, your spiritual well-being, your physical well-being, your financial well-being, your relationship so on and so on. There's such a broad spectrum, and so really there needn't be any suffering. And this goes beyond just me hoarding paint and wood. There's also, let me just fuse this in quickly, it's the hoarding of emotions and pre-gone experiences or pre-lived experiences. Especially those that don't have any benefit. Like, let's say you have a pre-lived experience, say where you went hang gliding, and then it was the weather was absolutely magical, and you're with the eagles and the birds. Like, yeah, that's something you would want to hang on to. And you could use the word hoarding, but in most cases, there's a psychological connotation that contributes to hoarding. Does that make sense? So let's just go back to what I was doing, what I've been doing. It's this nonsense. And let's just say, let's, be upfront and truthful. There's a lot of reluctance and potentially just being lazy, really. Unwilling to take on the efforts and responsibilities that lead myself into the experience, witnessing and observation of the beneficial outcome in its physical manifested equivalence. Okay? So yeah, I've been subconsciously telling myself that resources are limited, and that if I used it, like if I used the paint or I used the wood, and even if I used it in the wrong spot, I've wasted that paint or I've wasted that bit of wood. When, the matter of it is, there will always be plenty of wood. There will always be plenty of paint. Like I said, someone's just painted their house. or their kitchen, or their shed, or their boat. So there's probably potential surplus. They've bought too much, or there's a contractor out there, right? And he's overquoted. And now he's like, well, I don't need this 50 litres of paint. I bought it for the customer. Well, really, the customer bought it because I charged the customer. Let's be honest. And then so, oh, mate, you're out there selling paint that's already paid for. So sell it for a bloody good price, will you? Right? And so you always have these opportunities. It just means, okay, I need to go and look for it. Be the observer, pay attention, go, right, oh, there's a bargain on the blower. How you going? Taking on the effort, right? Being willing to take on the effort and responsibility to acquire the resource that I need to make life on this boat better. So yeah, like I said, I can jump on the face at marketplace. There's always an opportunity. There's always an opportunity. There's always something out there, right? So I sort of touched on this already. So now look, I mean, strategic assets are different. Like I have paint on board for next year's antifoul. So I went and bought that when that was on sale ahead of time. So yeah, I've been hanging on to that. I wouldn't say hoarding it. I've been hanging on to it ready for, well, actually it's this year's antifoul, right? Bottom paint antifoul. Or anything, what have I got here? Yeah, or that has a defined high value purpose. So hanging on to that makes sense. But the leftovers, or the scrap bits of wood, okay? Or that single little bolt, right? Or right, these empty bottles that I've been hanging on to for that simple purpose of mixing up old paint or for leftover paint. And that's the other thing. I don't need to keep collecting these if I don't need to use them right now. And how about I just make a deal and go, you know what, these are 2 litres. If I have 5 of these, that's 10 litres. That's plenty. If I need more, and this is a vinegar bottle, which I need to use, which I use a lot, I just go and get another $2 bottle of vinegar. Simple, right? Why make it complicated? So this is an important part, right? You know, all of this stuff, scrap bits of wood, empty bottles that I'm hanging on to for a purpose, but I haven't come around to that purpose. These leftover paints of cans of paint. What else have I got to throw in here? I've got boxes of screws and bolts that need sorting. And by sorting them and putting them into little clippy bags and labeling them and creating order, that's going to allow space and real important. That's I'm leaning into, because like keeping all it doesn't protect me. It just creates this stagnation. It clutters the space. And if I'm in a clutter, I'm in a confined, right? And I become restrictive. And then so my annoyance, my irritability and my frustration is me realizing that, and there's this resistance to this confinement. And then what happens? If you're squeezing something, squeezing it, and there's only one, boom, right? It explodes. You have this spontaneous, chaotic expression. That's not healthy for anyone, right? or it gets that confined and you become that suppressed, that depressed, right, that you'll just keep weighing yourself down with all of this neglect, reluctancy, laziness. And it's a chip away. There's a video on this channel, right, before I converted it back into iron weight maritime and started focusing, having a bit more direction, where I talk about the power of a single drop of water. And that's very relevant in both ways. If by me neglecting, it's like a little drip, 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 right, it's going to have an effect. The other way around too, if I start doing these little things, drip, 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 they start to make an impression in stone. And then you get to see, oh, these little things are actually adding up and bringing me forward into the place that I truly want to be. Okay? So I'm creating that momentum and I'm removing myself from the stagnation. And let me sort of talk from me to you for a second. Just, it's a bit of the teacher to the student. But the way I've written it here, it just delivers better. Okay, so if you want new things to enter your world, you have to free up the space for them. You have to put what you have into application where it can actually be of service. Exhibit A, old paint, right? Mix it up. By mixing the paint and using it, two things happen. Practically, the boat looks a little brighter, which it does. Little step looks way better than with old weathering wood. And the wood is protected. So I'll get more life. I'll get more life out of this simple scrap bit of wood that someone would have just burned or we would have gone to landfill, right? So right now, there's mentally and energetically, the shelf is clear, the space is open. Life lesson in the paint. How something so simple can have such a profound impact on my own self, and then my willingness to put this into a video, to put it on the YouTube, with a sense of hope that someone comes across it, but either just knowing and having a realization, which I did the other day, you know what, no one needs to hear my videos. No one needs to listen to them. No one needs to see them. No one needs to watch them. The fact is that I am making a physical contribution to the greater good by putting the video in a space where it can be seen, where it can be heard, listened to, watched, and absorbed into someone else's world, and that it can have a profound effect, that it can have a beneficial spillover effect, that it has this potential to make a positive alteration in someone's life. Boom. You beauty. And so this clear, right, this simple, like that's, I've done some painting out of in the other boat as well, which will be coming up. So, but that's the remnants of 3 cans, right? What was left after I did after painting. But that's going to go around and do this other little step, or maybe I'll paint these doors just to brighten them up. You know what I'm saying? Now that has a mental effect because it's a reflection that I'm seeing my will, like I said, I'm witnessing, observing a physical manifestation. Oh, the thought energy manifested into its physical equivalent, and so then that gives me what I'm getting into now. This creates this ebb and flow. It's how the laws of prosperity and momentum actually work. And if you want to go and dive deeper in that, go for it. But if we just look at it simply and practically, it makes utter sense, does it not? Just the simple act, and I know I'm regurgitating, but I'm also doing it on purpose to create a reinforcement in the understanding of what it is that I'm sharing here from a mental perspective, from a psychological perspective, and how that has the ability to really, for those interested and willing to take on board, or those who have been trying to communicate this to someone and go, hey, boom, you've got to watch this video about life lesson in the paint, because it's exactly what I was talking with you or to you about the other day. Right? So you're not the only one. And remember that too. You're not the only one. So stop waving your little pity flag, your little victim flag, and the constantly identifying with the insufficient self or the insufficient version. The amount of time that I were walking around going, I'm too, I'm too old, I'm too fat, or I don't have this luxurious life, all these type of things. I kept identifying with the lesser version of myself. That comes into play of me mentioning about hoarding the non-beneficial within the self through the talking and the thinking of the self. You're creating the stagnation, the scarcity mentality. And that's sitting in a program. I'm keep retyping this program. Right? I'm taking up the data files of a non in I'm taking up the data files, right, with this non-beneficial program. It's like a virus, computer virus. But I want my computer to be like running faster. I want better picture, but I've still got all this old software and hardware in it. So it just means I need to deal with the gap in between of whilst I'm doing that which leads into the benefit. And by doing that, I create this ebb and flow. So it's how the laws of prosperity and momentum actually work. The tide doesn't just come in and stay there. It has to recede to return. Energy has to circulate. When you hold on to things out of fear of lack, you stop the flow completely. As we go at this again. With me making the statement, hey, what are you doing? You don't need to hang on to this old paint. Just wherever there's bare oh, we're going over there now. Oh, we're going on the beam, and the swell's hitting us. So we'll leave that in because we're on the boat. We are on the boat. That's just part of it, right? But now I'm just creating this simple little. So I'm creating this little mini tidal effect. Think of it of there's that little stream, right? There's that little flow of water, and it's getting all blocked up by the leaves, right? And you start moving the leaves out of the way. You start moving the sticks, and the water starts flowing, right? And it does in the beginning. It doesn't really increase anymore, and this is not a very good tripod. This little design. Create something better. right? And then the street, it starts to get bigger and bigger, and the water flow, depending on the source, right? Meaning one's effort, the the flow will increase, and the width and the depth will eventually start to expand as well. And so here's like this bit of a guru moment here. Let me say it like this. If you were to look into your own life or your own business or your own space, what are you hoarding out of the reluctance to just use it? What this is, I'm being sort of metaphorical, right? Holy moly, right on the beam. But what half empty cans of paint are you gripping onto because you're afraid there won't be enough tomorrow? Is it tools? Is it old ideas? Is it energy you're holding back? Stop waiting for the perfect moment to maximize it. Pour it out, use it up, create the space, start the momentum, and let the universe fill the gap. See what happens. So there's that sort of spiritual woo-woo part about it. And then there's just the practical part about it. So that wood that you got in the shed that you got to build the shelf, go build the shelf. And if you don't need that shelf anymore, why don't you call up your mate and say, hey, do you need a shelf? Do you need a hallway table or something? Or just make a hallway table and then put it on Facebook for $100. Or do something bigger and better than that and find a single parent or a family that maybe have kids and make a little dinner table for the kids with little bench seats, things like that. And as I just said that, I'm just saying that right now. I'm thinking, man, and that's something that I could easily do. And then that's going to create something. That's going to feed and something out there. Like I said with this video, I realized that no one needs to watch these. There's only a need if I become so dependent on this YouTube channel being monetized through the criterias that's needed through YouTube, right? Or I could go beyond that and look at the bigger picture and go, I'm making a physical presence and a physical contribution into the greater good, making these videos and putting them out there into the world and just being simple and just being raw, unfiltered, unedited, and I don't need to swear. And I don't need to be abrupt and brutish and harsh. I don't need to be any of these things. Because I'm not interested in that being returned to me. And so if goodness, right, if goodness delivered is a process, then let it be the process. If that means you go, right, listen here, Captain, I'm going to give you a sense of something right now. And maybe you have had this sense that good things are on their way and that they're coming, and all you need to do is just adhere to the recipe of life. Right? And avoid giving attention to that which doesn't serve you. Avoid this identification to the insufficient version of yourself that no longer is. Yeah, there's been some terrible things. Some terrible things have happened in my life, and I'm actually been part of the terribleness, right? And like I said, someone has always, there's always a situation where someone else has had it worse. So really, I needn't dance in the once was. I needn't do that. I needn't do that. And I needn't hang on to things waiting for the optimum moment. If it has the ability to be used and be of service, therefore do it. If saying hello to a stranger passing by has the ability to put a smile on their face and make their day brighter, and even if they don't return, the thing is that I'm contributing to something bigger and better and greater, and I'm really becoming friends with that, like really coming friends with that, and almost there's like a level of I'm no longer phased or highly reactive. So to give you an example, the last 12 hours have been unpleasant. We've had, what was it, force 8 winds, and constantly going between the two boats and making adjustments. But we handled all right. We did all right. And things things were falling over, but we did all right. We just got up. Okay, we didn't get under the covers. We just laid on top of the blanket, stayed rugged up like this, and knowing that I'll probably need to get up and make an adjustment. I looked at the weather, and once again, right, the winds are going to go approximately from here to here. Yeah, 12 hours, I think it's been. And then it looks like, oh, here comes the rain. Right. Let's get that. Let's get the other tarp out. Let's put that there. All these little things. Let's go back over there into Ducky Boy. Fix up his ropes. Move some of the stuff inside to get a better balance. Move the rudder around. Tie it off so I don't lose it. And I'm at the stage where I really need to really get on with it and get a plan put into place to sail. I need to sail over to Margate because I really do need to put Whistling Duck up on the hard, right? Because he's my first boat, and so I got to give him some attention. And I'm long-winding this ending, and just sharing it, with you that it is a process, and that the speed of all the goodness, I think, derives from the speed of the goodness that we put into our world on our own. I was going to say, can you hear that? But you couldn't hear that. I'll keep the camera running because it sounds like a gas sound. What is that? And when the boats are rocking, sometimes it's just something like a material rubbing. It'd be good if that's what it was. Let's just go over the ducky boy. A little extra bit at the end here for you. Here we are. An idea of the rock and the roll. Whoa. You let me think like what? There's nothing. It's just little ripples. But look at all this energy. That's energy. Oh man. Oh, I need a cast net. I need to get my cast net back. See that? That's I think that's mackerel. Oh, here we go. They're over here now. Yeah. There's that paint them, got to paint the other sides. Then got to paint that chappy. Oh yeah, I've put the fridge down, I've put the gas down, I've put these down and seem to be a little bit more balanced. But then you've got, I mean, I've got this chappy, hey. I really need to tidy up this chappy and just really get things into play. Really get things into play. I was having a conversation with wee lass there, right? And it's always good to have someone that you can talk with, right? Like with these things, it's good, and you can share this type of level of thinking. And so in all of these activities and these experiences, and then this pressure saying, hey, you really start to need to address these things. And then going to Margate and going and traveling, well, it's creating a new experience. It'll be like sailing here in Whistling Duck. It'll be the biggest adventure that I've had sailing this boat. And then getting up on the hard stand and then creating new content. And then that could be part of this ebb and flow and start pulling in, people paying more attention to the YouTube channel. Okay. And creating the audience. And if you see at the end of the video, it'll be like video 3, crew members 0 out of 1,000. And video 7, I'm nominating video 7 where I'm going to explain what that is. It's the 100-1,000 strategy that I'll be putting into play on this YouTube channel, Iron Wake Maritime. But in doing that, what I'm doing is I'm going out there into the potential. I'm making a disruption, I'm making a disturbance into these fields of new experiences, and that's going to create these echoes, right? And I'm creating a broadcast. And in the way I look at it, like I said, I'm making real good friends with this concept of thought. That potentially we are being witnessed and observed as well. Not just us observing us, right? But if you look into the train of thought of thinking, that the source of who we are, right, as an energy being or a light being, and that derives from something else that's greater, that is witnessing us experiencing life in our physical. Like right now, I'm potentially being witnessed and being observed in this very moment, talking in this way and having these realization and this mindset, this mentality, this philosophy, the ironwake, which is like the philosophy of ironwake maritime, and it's learning about oneself through life on a wooden boat. And that by doing these things, right, without the checklist, without, oh, well, hey, where's my girlfriend, you know, or where's my girlfriends, or for the girl, where's my boyfriend, or how is, there's girlfriends want girlfriends these days, and boyfriends want boyfriends, and all that stuff. Or where's my new job, or where's my new car, and oh, man, I'm just getting distracted right now. There's a whole school of fish going off their gills just out here. I don't really want to do. I don't want to catch fish like that anymore. I want to either get them in a cast net or I spear. I want to really earn it. But what I'm getting at is that you then get the gifts, right? If you're not going out and doing things from the intention of, oh, I'm only doing this because I know if I do this, I get. That's what happens about, now we're getting a bit of a deep dive into the law of attraction and manifestation. Avoid doing these things for the sake of the getting. Like watching the David Bayers or the Tony Robinsons or the Peter, what's that English fella's name, right? Or the Alex Hormozy's. You know that it will make an improvement. You know that it has the potential to bring a benefit in your life. But most importantly, is you yourself having that experience of your own doing that becomes the source and the deliverer of the benefit, if that makes sense. And then you just keep pushing yourself out there into the world. And there was something that occurred is there needs to be someone, and so I'll make that someone me, that says, hey, it truly is okay for you to find a level of comfort in order to take yourself into the uncomfortableness. Because there needs to be a level of comfort, like competency, like a confidence in the doing, which can be considered comfort. So I've travelled in this boat all the way from the Prince of Wales Bay in Sitting Pelican, all right, averaging 3.3 knots. And we've been across Norfolk Bay numerous amounts of time and very unpleasant. And my friend was with me as well, and that probably wasn't her best experience on this boat either. But the cool thing about that is, hey, you've been on this boat in a pretty gnarly condition. Anything after that is like whatever. So it will make the next trip, right, when she comes down, and when it's nice and calm and beautiful, it'll just make that even more special. Right. But that's what I mean about being into that. So she had enough. So let me use her as an example, that she had enough confidence and was comfortable enough to go on a boat, right? And she stayed pretty well. I was impressed. Right? I was impressed because that was some gnarly weather we went through. Right? But I won't be doing that in Ducky Boy. So I've got to get Ducky Boy ready. We've got to get to Marina, and so I'm back at the drink stand again. And so when I get to the Marina, there's something there in that pond of potential. But I can't experience a new experience if I don't take myself into the realm where the new experiences are. But so, in closing with all of this, life lesson in the paint is it will be in these small things of doing something that is the deliverer and the provider of the benefit. Like, look, that's just a bit of scrap bit of wood. But what did it look like beforehand? Okay, like that. Now, I mean, it looks pretty good. And then, like I said, when you start to do these things, what I realize as I start doing them, I go, now that I can see it, now I can see, oh yeah, that would work. If I put that there and there, let me do that. And if you look up, I just splashed out what was left in the tin up there. Like, why not? All them little cracks that are in the fiberglass, that'll just help keep them filled. So all these they're little things, but they're leading to something bigger and better and greater. And it can only happen, and it can only occur if I'm willing. That's something really important to attach onto this. The wheels are seriously, wheels are touching the tarmac right now. This will always be the big thing, and you can put this in big letters and write it on your wall. That when one is of the willingness to take on the efforts and responsibilities to lead themselves right, into the realms where the potential benefit and service exists, then and only then will life get better. What? Hand on heart, I reckon that is an ultimate cosmic truth. So only then, right, only when one is willing to take on all efforts and responsibilities required to lead themselves into the new experience where the potential of benefit like awaits, let's say awaits to be of service to you for the greater good, that is only then will life get better. And just like I'm saying, if you it's in that acceptance. It's in that acceptance as well. I mean, there's just so much to this. There's just so much. But it's also so very simple. It's also so very simple. And that we ourselves truly do complicate things unnecessarily. We just complicate it, to just strip it back and go, right, just look at what is the plain fundamentals of all of this. And we're back up in the sky because the wind was the wind direction to land the plane wasn't at the best. But that's how powerful this is too. Like this is energy, thought energy, and it's coming from somewhere. Because if this was made up, right, if was artificial, then I would have closed this video off ages ago. Maybe I should have. I've already got this jacket. Oh well. But that's part of it. What I realized too. Yeah, there's the realization. Yeah, that's great, all fine and dandy. But then there's the application of it. And so that as that is, this is an application of that realization. But the realization came from doing this simple activity. Eh? How about that? Life lesson in the paint. So thank you for tuning in. Thank yourself. Most importantly, let me always vocalize this, that you thank you. You thank you for bringing you into a place that has the ability to give you another perspective. So as much as you may put it, hey, thanks for making the video, remember to thank yourself for making a decision, for choosing to watch the video. And as plain and simple as this is, right, for it to be witnessed and observed in your reality says something, doesn't it? Because there's no fancy thumbnail, there's no fancy background music, right? There's none of these 3, 2 camera changes, except for those there to keep your attention when they're like that, they're like that, then they're like that. There's no ping boom, press the bell. There's none of that. There's just none of that here. There's no gimmicks. There's just no gimmicks. It's just a fella with a phone, talking to a camera, sharing life on a wooden boat. And somewhere in there, I know that I'm broadcasting my intentions of good for me and other people. So until then, set your sails. Set your sails to where you're comfortable enough. Right? Begin. This is a metaphor in a way, right? But choose your weather that where you feel confident enough to get on the water, to get sailing on the waters of life. Have a 10-second cold shower, then a 20-second, then a 30-second, and then start taking yourself down to the ocean, right? When there's no one around, and get it in there in the nude, because that's the next best thing. And I mean, I'm fortunate, I can just jump off my boat right here. Woo-hoo! And get into the cold water. Right, so that's my cue to go, right, that's enough. You've said enough. Come in for a landing. And be good, be good, be great, be brilliant. Seriously, be the best that you can and do what you can with what you have to lead you into the places, that you want to experience. And that feeds the joy in your heart and amplifies the music of your soul.